Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
How's it? It's Josh Lee Kwai.
And today's a very special episode, actually, because we're bringing back an old favorite from a few years ago. This is from like 3-4 years ago. And this is one that you and Jordan recorded about learning how to engage with deals as they're offered to you. It was called Dealing with Dealers back in the day. And it's one of my favorites because, like, I came from a playgroup that played politics very differently. We didn't do a lot of like, I'll give you X if you give me that. So once I transitioned into the Command Zone, that was something I'd like never really dealt with directly. So this is a cool way. Like, this episode's really neat because it just sets up scenarios, sets up common deals, and says like what to look for. And that was really cool. That was really helpful for me when I first started getting into it.
Yeah, I love these politics episodes because they tend to be evergreen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this kind of stuff, as cards change over the years and new stuff is designed, the politics of Commander don't intrinsically change. The way social dynamics work don't intrinsically change. So I think there's a lot of information in this episode that's basically all of it that's still going to be relevant to everybody out there. And I really like what you said about like one of the great things about me even listening to political episodes or episodes about the social dynamics on other channels is like there are different playgroups and there are different dynamics, and just getting a little window into like how other people do things not only helps you when you go into an unfamiliar situation, maybe in MagicCon or something, and you're dealing with players that sort of operate in a way that you're not used to, but also can help you be like, oh, I want to try that. So you sort of hear them talk about it or see them do it. I think content's really good for this gameplay content too. And it sort of gives you an idea of like, oh, I could try that sometime as a little trick to add to my, toolbox.
Yeah, it's not something I was ever really felt comfortable doing, but once you have it spelled out so explicitly, it is something that you become a little bit more comfortable engaging with. And, we wanted to bring it back because we put out a lot of episodes over the years, and some of them fall between the cracks and the algorithm doesn't see them the same way. So we wanted to make sure that if you're a new listener of the Command Zone that you caught this one because it's one of our favorites.
All right, we hope you like it. Let's go into the main topic here.
All right.
Dealing with dealers, Commander politics.
With dealers.
Yeah. So again, this episode is more about how you handle politics when it's initiated by your opponent, what you do when a deal is offered to you or when politics are going on, but you didn't start them.
Which, like, depending on what type of player you are, like, this could be a lot of the politics you do. Like, I know, like, you and I are both the sort who, like, try and, like, initiate things like that a lot. But, like, especially at newer tables, sometimes you'll see people who are, being on the receiving end of politics just right off the bat, and that's a lot of what their experience is. So
yeah, I really like that actually. In that, and I think a lot of players, of Magic, maybe you're not the outgoing type, so you're not the one that's going to like start the conversation. Sure. But somebody else might start the conversation, and this might help you have some context for which to like navigate those situations and make sure that you're accounting yourself well, giving yourself the best chance of victory, not getting conned in some way. Yeah. So hopefully this episode will be helpful for everybody who's really into politics, or even all the way to I'm not interested in politics, but you still want to be able to navigate this stuff. So we wanted to start this episode by taking a look at a very common deal that gets proposed in a lot of games these days, and it's something that I have used quite frequently. I've seen you do it, Jordan. So in a lot of games, there'll be a point, and one player will there'll be something scary played by a player. Right. Let's say Jordan plays something scary.
Sure.
And then another player, it'll get to their turn, and there'll be something on Jordan's board that's like, we kind of would like to remove that. I'd like to remove that. But you don't want to spend your turn or your card actually removing the thing. And so a player will offer a deal or make some political statement that kind of goes like this. I could remove your thing, but, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to waste my whole turn doing it. How about this? How about you just promise not to use that thing against me, just for next turn, and then I can develop my board. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to kill it.
That sounds great to me. I get to keep my thing, and now we're friends or whatever.
Right. So that deal that I've offered, I'm sure you've heard it if you played a lot of Commander in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they don't always word it the exact same way, but it's basically trying to It's basically putting Jordan in actually what doesn't seem like a tough position, but actually is, I think, a tough position.
Because if you don't think about it, It feels like, great, I'm continuing to have my person on the board, and it costs me nothing. All I have to do is use it on someone else.
Right. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Right, you don't want your thing to be removed, obviously, right? If you're Jordan in this case. And your natural instinct, I think most people's natural instinct is to like agree or appease the person. If I just can't use my thing against Josh, well, I have 2 other opponents. So my thing still has a lot of usefulness. I'm going to get to, I didn't come here, sit down, shuffle my deck up, put it into my backpack, bring it all the way to somebody's house, find parking, unpack, come here, start the game to not have my cards like be able to attack or do whatever they're supposed to do, right?
Sure.
So it feels like I will appease the person so that I get to use my card. But I don't think actually I think Jordan is quite disadvantaged when he agrees to this deal.
A lot of the time, that's definitely true. And I mean, when you think about it, like you are taking the piece that you have on the board, which was a threat to the 3 other people you have, and you're removing a third of the options you have for how to use it. And a third is a lot when you only have 3 opponents.
Yeah. So it's 33% less effective, the thing, immediately by agreeing to that deal. Yeah. There's also a lot of little ancillary sort of negative things that happen here because let's say the other 2 players, let's say Mel and Megan are here.
Sure.
Well, they automatically now know, well, instead of a 33% chance for that thing to have been a threat to me, it's now a 50% chance for that thing to. So it ups the threat level of the thing in their eyes towards them.
And if they were sitting there thinking like, oh, that's a problem, but maybe I can not remove it. Like now that they know it is more likely coming at them, there's a much higher chance that they're going to use the removal they have on that thing.
So it definitely affects Jordan in a pretty negative way to accept this deal. I think the question then becomes like, how do you kind of get out of this political trap that you've been put in by the person just initiating this deal with you? Because as soon as they start the thing, like, I don't like that thing you've got, but do I need to remove it? You're in trouble now. They've already they've put you in the trap. And now it's like, how do you navigate away? How do you blunt the political assault and come out clean on the other side so that you so I think the first step to all political deals when they are being started by somebody else initiated and they're coming towards you, or even if they're coming towards your opponents, the first step is to like stop and interpret what the person's saying. Like you want to figure out what that political player is really saying, what their goals are. Like what are they trying to accomplish here? Because they're not going to tell you their real goals and motives in that situation.
Not at all. And I mean, that's one of the things about making deals in Commander. Like, yes, you don't want to lie about like what you are making, what deal you are making. You're not going to I'm not going to attack you and then attack them because that hurts your credibility.
Yeah, that's just a straight up lie.
But you don't have to give them all the information.
Right.
And you can say like, I'm going to have to remove that with nothing in your hand that does it.
Right, it's true. I wasn't lying. I didn't say I could. I just said I have to.
Yeah.
It's totally different. Yeah. If you have good lawyers, they can find you loopholes and they can word things in certain ways. There's almost a respect, and I have this too, for a person who's like, yeah, you got me. You said I won't attack and then you destroyed my thing. That's different. I get it. I should have had better lawyers.
Sure, yeah. You do the little demon contract thing and just be like, ha, yes.
Yes, but you didn't account for this, the lack of this one comma.
Sure. All within the politics of everything. But I think it's important, too, to kind of think about the fact that this deal even, like, is trading in-hand information that isn't something you actually know is there for onboard power.
Right.
You know?
Okay, so let's look at what the person's saying here, and let's try and interpret what it is that they're actually saying, right?
Sure.
So they come to you and they say, you've got a scary thing. Do I have to remove that, or would you just like to make a deal where you just promise not to use against me in the near future, and therefore I can advance my position in the game? Mm-hmm. So, what are the goals of the political player in this instance? I think the first one is allowing them to safely advance their board, right?
Yeah.
So this deal's very often used in the early part of the game, where it's like turn 3 or 4, and a removal spell will cost enough mana that they won't also be able to do something else, and they're really wanting to advance their board so that later in the game, mana ramp or whatever.
Yeah, like imagine it's like turn 2 or 3 and you've ramped a little bit, and now you have the choice between using your 4 mana to cast a Swords to Plowshares and kill something, or cast that Smothering Tithe that would then get things going for you.
As soon as you said 4 mana, I knew it. Yeah, because all the time they're like, blah, 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 so will you not agree? And the person says yes, and they're like, cool, Smothering Tithe, go.
Yeah.
Or cool, Rhystic Study, go. Or cool, Mana Rock, go. Cool, Cultivate, go. That is often the play pattern there because you know what they wanted to do. They want to ramp or get their card draw set up, but they don't want to take damage or have you destroy something or whatever in the meantime. So I think the first thing they're trying to accomplish is safety while they try and keep up with the rest of the table.
I mean, board development is a threat to you. As one of their opponents, if they're developing their board, it's not as immediately impactful to you as getting your creature removed, but that is how you win games, by having the more developed board. Yeah,
definitely if you're on turn 7 or 8 and you just haven't developed as much, you can easily be in a position where other players are poised to win the game, and you don't quite have enough resources to try and win the game yet, and then you're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, imagine that you got that Smothering Tithe out one turn later.
It's a big difference.
You missed, let's say, just 3 treasures, like almost the minimum that you get for Smothering Tithe. That's a big swing.
Yeah, it means the difference between 9 or 12 mana some point in the future. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. We hope you are enjoying the episode. This is us here in 2025. If you want to support this content and other content that we make here at the Command Zone, you can use our affiliate link by going to cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom has a huge selection of singles and sealed product, all of the Magic cards you want under the sun. You can order from one place, from one professional place that knows Magic cards, knows that they're going to package your stuff well and get it to you safely and soundly, especially when a big set comes out like Final Fantasy. You're ordering a ton of cards all at once. Once you're like, okay, prices have settled. Now it's time for me to pick up those staples. And there are a lot of them in this set. So get a ton of them all in one place and support the show while you're shopping by going to cardkingdom.com/command.
Yeah, I love that just all the stuff comes in one package, and you just cannot beat the convenience of it, especially Final Fantasy when I'm building all these decks and I just want to play them. Just give me those cards right away, all at once. And of course, once you get those cards, you want to protect them. Ultra Pro is the game accessories brand that we trust our own collections to here at the Command Zone. If you go to ultrapro.com/command, you can find all kinds of cool stuff, including they have Final Fantasy gear.
Yeah, hopefully it's still on sale.
Yeah, just like everything Final Fantasy, it seems, it is hard to find, and they do go to stock, but they are constantly making more. But if you haven't seen the kind of foil deck boxes they have with like Cloud on it, and they've got binders and playmats and sleeves, it is gorgeous. It is really high quality. It will protect your game pieces. Like we said, we trust our own collections to all the Ultra Pro stuff here at the Command Zone, and we can't give a higher endorsement than that. Again, ultrapro.com/command is a place to go to check that stuff out. You won't be disappointed.
Finally, you can support us directly by going to patreon.com/commandzone. All of our patrons get access to our Discord. You can come in, you can hang out with us, chat, ask questions, talk about the latest precons as they come out or cards. Every time a new card is revealed, there's a discussion about it. It's a ton of fun to be in there. Plus, at certain tiers, you get access to exclusive content like Turn Talk, which is a conversation we have after every episode of Extra Turns. Plus, you get Extra Turns a day early without ads. And game nights.
And game nights too. Yeah. And there's like 30 plus episodes of Turn Talk now. So if you sign up for the Patreon at that tier, you'll just automatically get access to all those past episodes. So it's just hours and hours of content right away.
Plus, we shout out one lucky patron every single podcast episode. And this one is dedicated to John Libid. John, you rock.
All right. Thanks everybody for supporting. And without further ado, let's get back to the episode. Okay, the second thing I think they are often saying when they make a deal like this, the unsaid thing is they want to gain protection from that thing for free. So a lot of times it's like, why should I use my removal spell if I can just talk the person out of using it against me?
Right.
And then I still have the thing in my hand to use later.
Exactly.
Like that's actually... I think a lot of reasons politics sort of works in Commander is literally like I have one removal spell. If I use it on that thing, I have 0 removal spells. But if I could just talk the person out of it, then I still have my one removal spell. And by the way, I can then also talk the next person out of it because I still have the removal spell.
Which, in a weird way, is like one of the best ways to like gain card advantage in Commander by not using the card to achieve the same goal.
Why would you use the card if your words can just do it? Like, and then I think there's a subtle thing that's happening here, and we alluded to it earlier, which is, and this isn't always like an active goal of the politics. This political move though just kind of has the side effect of this happening, which is to point out to the other two players, Mel and Megan in this case, that thing is a threat, to raise the threat level of either the player or the thing that the player has in their eyes. Because simply the act of like expressing the desire to get rid of it sort of puts it on the radar of the other players. And often I've been in a game, where somebody starts talking about a thing and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing is, I wasn't thinking about it, but well, boy, that thing is a bad idea. Yeah, I would like for that to go.
Yeah, and I mean, Commander board states can be kind of complicated. There's a lot of times where you are trying to like figure out what is the threat that needs to be removed on the board. And if someone else sits there and goes like, ooh, that Faber Elder is getting him way too much mana now. Do I have to deal with that?
Yeah.
Maybe someone on the other side of the table goes, that is getting him a lot of mana, isn't it?
I have a removal spell. If maybe I'll take care of it.
Whereas they're not paying attention to the something nice that's sitting in my board as I mention.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So not only pointing out a threat somebody else has, but actually like distracting from your own board.
Exactly.
Because, so you naturally are going, no, look over there. Don't look at what I'm doing because that thing's really, really scary. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna. I guess I won't. I won't remove it this turn. But let's keep an eye on that thing, and then you're like Smothering Tithe, and then it's like somehow, the outcome there can be that Smothering Tithe is not that big a deal. I'm worried about that thing on their board. That's pretty cool. Yep. So you kind of know what they're going after here when they offer this deal, and the question becomes, what do you do about it? How do you respond if you're Jordan in this scenario? I think one of the first things you can do, no matter what, is address that threat level thing by just immediately like saying, why would you want to destroy my whatever when that thing over there is more scary? Just throw a wrench in the works.
Don't accept the premise that they put out for you that like, oh, this is the biggest threat. It needs to be removed, and I'm going to remove it if this, right now. Like, that's what they're setting up, and they want you to believe that. So at least evaluate if that's true before you just accept it.
Yeah, you can always say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you've got that." At least like even yourselves out in the minds of the other two opponents. I think that will, at the minimum, you can do something like that.
Sure.
But I think there's also some things to consider when responding to this particular deal that will help you navigate, to a standstill at least, or maybe gain some advantage from this happening. So the first thing I like to think about is like, what's the game state? Is it early game? Is it late game? Is it mid game? Early game, like we said, that person often wants to develop their board. They really don't want to use their whole turn early to destroy your thing, because think about how negative that is for both the player offering the deal and the player of the thing that's getting destroyed. I use a card. Jordan loses a thing, so that's 2 cards lost for us. What our 2 opponents just gained an advantage, and it cost them nothing. So it's something you just really don't want to do because you fall behind. Yes, you take the other player down a little bit with you, but they don't have to do anything. They just get a lead.
And I'll tell you, like, I run a lot of like interaction and removal in my decks, and when I get into situations where I'm the one who has to do the removal, everyone else starts to move forward.
Yeah, it feels like you're falling behind.
It's an important thing to be able to do, but if you have to do it, it is a cost. It's a very serious one.
I mean, obviously, we're not talking in a situation where like the thing is a combo piece and it has to be taken care of, right? You do that because you're going to lose, and you usually don't offer the deal then because like they're like, well, yeah, I won't use it against you, but I'll just kill everybody with it.
Well, and I think that's the key to this whole thing. If someone is offering the deal, they don't want to do it. Like, I'm not offering you not to remove your Consecrated Sphinx,
right?
Because I want to remove your Consecrated
it's easy for me.
Sphinx.
Yeah.
I want to have this on something else. Consecrated Sphinx is a bad one because I would remove it. But
maybe you're not worried about it for whatever reason.
But sure. But the important part is that I have a plan. I have something else I want to do. And I'm just pretending that I want to remove the Consecrated Sphinx.
And I've seen this happen many, many times now. And I think I've gone on the show a lot. And you've probably seen on Extra Turns and Game Nights where I am a person that's perfectly willing to be like, no, I'm not going to take your deal. You got to do your thing. Good luck.
Yeah.
If you want to remove my thing, go for it. And I'd say like a high percentage of the time in the early game when somebody offers this deal, I won't remove your thing if you promise not to use against me. If you go, no, I'm not making any promises. If you got to remove it, go for it. I'd say a high percentage of the time they go, all right, I'm still not going to do it. I'm going to play my Mana Rock. I'm going to play my Smothering Tithe. They do not want to, at that point in the game, fall behind, not develop.
Well, and this is just a slightly different sort of situation, but like I had a game just the other day where I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna remove that thing if you use it like that, and they do it, and I go, I'm not.
You called me. I would say, on the other hand here, we're mostly talking about the person that's responding to the politics, but in some respects, I would think about removing it even if it's bad for me in that game,
Definitely.
just to set the precedent that I will do what I say.
Sure.
So that then, that might make it so that they have to accept the deal the next 4 or 5 games.
Yes.
And yes, it'll probably cost me that game or I'll be behind.
Getting a reputation can be very important.
Yeah, so think about that if you're on the other side. Another thing I like to consider when these deals are coming at me, and I think not enough people consider this in general in Commander, especially in the politics arena, is table position.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the video, we said I'm offering the deal to Jordan. Jordan's got the scary thing on his board that I'm threatening to remove. Mm-hmm. If we're in that case, it's a lot better for Jordan, I think, to make the deal with me, knowing that then I say go, and
I'm going to get value out of that.
Now let's imagine that Jordan is sitting in front of me now. So Megan and Mel are to my left. So what's going to happen is you and I are going to make this deal, and then I'm going to say pass the turn, and 2 more players are going to take their turns before it goes to Jordan's turn.
And you've primed both of them to be afraid of that thing and realize that it is going to be there when it gets to that turn.
So what are the chances that you actually, one of them doesn't take care of it in some way? But thinking about, okay, well, what is going to happen here? What's the table situation like? How many people get to, how much information is currently hidden from me?
Yeah.
If it's 2 whole players' turns, boy, I would be really, 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 what's the word? I would really want to say no to that deal if I'm listen, 2 other people are going to go. I got to say no because they might just destroy it.
It would have to be something on the board that I'm if this gets removed, I've lost the game. Because realistically, if you have something like that powerful, it's going to get removed. That's how things work in Commander. Something doesn't just sit on the board for turns and turns if people are playing properly.
The other thing I like to think about, and you notice most deals are offered before the player has really done anything in their turn.
Yeah.
So a lot of times this is just a very common loophole where they're making a deal with you. They're okay, so we made the deal. Maybe they're broader. Maybe they say, I could destroy this thing on your board. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather develop. How about we make a deal that you don't destroy anything on my board next turn. I won't destroy anything on your board this turn. And we'll just be friends for the next turn. How's that sound? I want to keep my thing. So yes. And then they play some stuff where you're if I would have known that was the stuff that was coming out, I wouldn't have made this deal. But now I can't touch any of it.
Yeah.
Because I made this deal. So be aware of what information might be being hidden from you. Jordan, you had a good way to handle the removal spells, which is just to sort of hey, show me the removal spell.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ways to do it, is if people are oh, I'm going to remove that. I'm with what? Show me what you've got. I want to see what your plan is to get rid of it.
Yeah, maybe I'll accept your deal, but I want to know first of all, do you have it? And then also what is that spell? Is it destroy a creature, any permanent? Give me some info.
If it is any permanent, sometimes the reason they're holding on to it is because they want to be able to deal with an enchantment that comes out, not your dinky little creature that's doing something there.
Yeah, does it cost them 4 mana? Then they really don't want to do it. Show me what your removal spell is. Maybe you could make the deal in this way, I think would be really clever. I've never actually tried this, but as we were talking, we came up with this scenario that I like, so I might try it in the future, which is yo, show me that spell. They show it to you and you go, okay, I will counteroffer you this. That spell can never destroy any of my things. You can use it against the other 2 players, so I'll allow you to retain some value. But since you are effectively using it right now by getting this guarantee from me,
I want a card from you too. I want this to not be a threat to me in the future.
Because otherwise you can just say the same thing to me next turn. So why don't I just let you destroy it now? So you want to develop your board? You want to have safety from this thing for a little while? Sure. But that Swords of Plowshares in your hand, you were making the agreement that can just never touch any of my stuff for this whole game.
Well, it's I've seen this happen a lot. I've seen it happen even with board wipes sometimes, where someone's you've got a big board right there. I could wipe the board, but you're not going to hit me with it, are you? And they're okay, I won't wipe the board this turn. And then they go and they attack other people, and the next turn they're board wipe. Great, I got 1 hit on all my opponents, and then I dealt with the problem. And it's because if they have a board wipe, they've got a board wipe.
Yeah, they just grabbed you and used you as a gun against the other 2 players in that case, yeah.
I mean, it's if you've ever played even with just an Oblivion Stone or something on the battlefield. Yeah, you'd love to remove it, but the next best thing is to get them to use it so you can start building up your board again.
Yeah. So I think the one of the big sort of morals of the story here is that, when they come to you with that deal, first find out what it is you think they're trying to accomplish. And then you can start to attack at the foundations of that. And we're not saying don't take the deal, but you might be able to alter it in a way or get more from them so that you can bring this back to equilibrium where the deal is a true deal. You had a great saying that is a known thing in negotiations, which was what? A good deal?
Yeah, it's like if a negotiation was good, both people walk away a little unhappy.
Right, that's how you know the deal was fair and equitable, right?
Right.
Yeah, if any side walks away and they're really happy, they probably scammed the other side in some way.
Yeah.
But if both walk away and they're like, both sides didn't get everything they wanted, well, it was probably a pretty fair deal. So if you have another saying I like in negotiation is if they didn't say no, you haven't asked for enough.
Yeah.
So you haven't found how far they're willing to go unless you got to the point where they were like, no, that deal's no good for me. Oh, I wanted to make a note before we move on here, which is that don't be fooled if people use slightly different wording. This deal that we described here, this like, hey, I don't want to destroy your thing, so let's make the agreement that you don't use it against me, I don't destroy it, so I can develop my board. There's a lot of ways to say this deal when you mean the same thing. One of my favorite ways to do it is to ask questions rather than because when you go to somebody and you're just like, hey, I have a deal for you, there's a lot more of a chance that they like get their back up and they're like, okay, he's playing politics against me, I gotta be ready, he's gonna try and trick me. Whereas if instead you go, how worried do I have to be about your enchantment over there?
Is this a problem for me?
Yeah, that aura shards, is that, how worried do I have to be? Are you gonna start blowing up stuff on my board?
Yeah.
They are saying the same thing as the person that's like, I would like to remove that thing, that's scary, but I won't if. They're just starting it in a different way. Or I say this a lot, which is like somebody plays a scary piece and I'm like, how scared should I be of that? Are you like going to win the game with it next turn?
Yeah. Does that win?
Yeah. Is this a combo deck? Are you going to like two different, like how, I just want to know like what kind of game I'm in here. But I also am starting to make a deal with them when I ask that question. So don't be fooled when they use slightly different wording. You need to boil it down to, oh, they're doing that thing where they want to develop their board and they don't want to use their resources to kill my thing.
It's like we mentioned earlier, like they're setting up a premise that isn't necessarily true, but they're creating that little myth for the table.
Don't necessarily buy into that premise. Okay, we've got a bunch of examples of other common deals and offers that players might initiate with you and how to respond to them. One I think is one of the most common scenarios that comes up in basically every game of Commander has a point where this happens. How's that for a tease? Before we move on to all that stuff, though, we got to take a quick break and hear a message from our sponsors.
Come, Mardu Raiders, and heed the voice of victory! Summer is a time to get out into the world and mobilize! But a pair of attacking warriors won't just kill your opponents, they'll also kill the vibe! So instead, I always bring a pair of everyday earbuds from RAYCON! They're the perfect summer sidekick while I slice things off my to-do list, whether I'm blasting bangers at the gym or skewering meat for the grill while playing podcasts. And RAYCON's latest model is better than ever with 32 hours of battery life, multi-point connectivity, and even a lightning-fast quick charge function. These earbuds also come with active noise cancellation, so you don't need to be bothered by chatter or counterspells when it's your turn to rest and relax. Plus, RAYCONs are aggressively costed, starting at just half the price of other premium brands. They even come in the two colors I pair best with, red and black. So if you seek victory this summer, pair up with RAYCON, because while winning is fun, having fun is also winning!
Go to buyraycon.com/command to get 15% off Raycon's best-selling everyday earbuds. Right now, Raycon is offering 15% off their best-selling everyday earbuds only at buyraycon.com/command. Again, that's buyraycon.com/command.
All right, Josh, I'm calling you out.
Well, it's about time, Jimmy. Pistols at dawn.
No, what? No, about what you said about Factor.
Wait, did I use it, like it, and it saved me a bunch of money?
That you have an entire spreadsheet of all your personal reviews of Factor meals? No, you're making that up.
I'm the king of spreadsheets. Why would you not believe that? You know what? To prove it, I will put a link in the show notes to my spreadsheet so everybody out there can see it.
Oh, snap.
Seriously, Factor meals are amazing, and they've helped me lose over 20 pounds recently. Before Factor, fast food and delivery was just kind of my quickest thing to fit into my schedule, but now I get chef-crafted meals sent right to my door, and they're ready in less than 5 minutes. It just makes eating healthy so much easier. Factor has options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, basically whatever strategy you want. You get to choose from over 45 meals every week, and hey, if you want some recommendations, check out my spreadsheet. My personal favorite right now is the Indian-style butter chicken, but there are a ton of dishes right now I think are great.
Dang, well, I stand corrected.
That will teach you to ever doubt my ability to optimize, Jimmy.
Get started at factormeals.com/command50off and use code command50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
That's code command50off at factormeals.com/command50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, factormeals.com/command50off.
Bruce and Silas, Vice Cops. This episode, protect And infect?
All right, Bruce, we got a brand new case. Are you ready to... Ah!
Is it bad?
Bruce, you look awful. Is that Phyrexian oil? You need to see a doctor.
That sounds hard. What if it goes away on its own?
No excuses, Bruce. I'm making you an appointment right now on ZOCDOC. ZOCDOC is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
Instantly? That's so fast.
ZOCDOC is all about fast. Visits typically happen within a few days of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments.
But how do I make sure the doctor's good? My last one seemed kinda weird. So, what's the matter, Doc?
You seem completely fine to me.
Creepy.
Well, with ZOCDOC, you never have to settle. They have more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty. You can filter however you like and check ratings from verified patients.
Great. Let's look for same day, though, because my arm, it's mostly metal now.
Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/command to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/command. Again, ZocDoc.com/command.
Browsing for some new tech?
Yeah, I'm building Tiamat and Archidekt. Ooh, how about Zergo and Ojutai?
Did you just drag and drop that card image directly into your deck?
Yep, with Archidekt, you can drag and drop card images from EDH, Rec, or Scryfall directly into the deck list. No typing required.
That is so cool.
Ooh, okay, check this out. I'm gonna drag and drop Dragon Storm into the deck, and then boom, I'm gonna drop a bunch of dragons on the battlefield.
A 9-drop, huh? Seems ambitious.
It was just for the pun. Archidekt is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/commandzone. All right, we are back. We are talking about dealing with dealers, commander politics. All right, we're gonna go through. We went through like what I think is one of the most common deals that you kind of get approached with.
Like really archetypal.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of like other deals that all sort of fall into that category. So like the same basic thoughts can be used in a lot of situations, but
yeah, and I think we're going to go through a few more here, and again, word for word, exactly. Not every deal will be like this, but these are archetypal, like you said. These are types of deals you see all the time. So one of the other most common like offers players will make to you or to others is, hey, if I remove this thing that's a problem for the whole table. Like Jordan has a scary thing again, and it's an Elish Norn,
right?
Or it's a Shieldred, or it's a combo piece that if it's a doubling season,
right?
And everybody wants to destroy it, and so I say, okay, I have the means to destroy this thing, but it's going to take a lot of resources for me to do that, everybody. So I would appreciate it if you would show a little gratitude when I do the thing that we all want to have happen.
And nobody attacks me for the next turn, or you don't remove my thing here, please.
Yeah, exactly. They appeal to the other two players of like, I'm doing this thing for all of us. So after I do that, how about you give me something for that? And this happened in the recent episode of Game Nights. Xolo definitely did it at one point.
Yes.
And this can also be KOing the player. A lot of times one player gets so scary that everybody feels like they have to team up to take him down, because if they get another turn, they have 27 cards in hand and whatever combo piece is out, and they're definitely going to run away with it. So the table goes, okay, we got to take him out. And then it gets to the person who can take him out, and they go, okay, listen, I can take him out.
And they could do something like they could like tap out for a Kessig Wolf run and have their trampler go in and kill just that person. But that means entirely tapping out and, tapping their blocker.
Yeah.
So
I got to take my whole turn to do this. So how about after I do that, you all be nice to me, don't attack me, just let me, pretend I'm not here for one turn. So that's a very common thing I think I see in a lot of games. And the question is, what do you do in this scenario? And the way I like to think about this is that almost always the person is going to do the thing regardless of what they're going to get from the other players. If a Super Friends deck has a doubling season out on the table and, they're about to untap, or their next turn, like if you have the ability to destroy the doubling season, you have to do it, because you are going to lose to the player with the doubling season.
Oh, 100%.
So you're going to ask, sure, for like favors from the other people, but I am totally fine if I'm one of the other opponents being like, listen, if you want to just sit here and let the doubling season go, stay there, you have the means to destroy it and you just let it exist. Like, we get what we get, which is probably to lose to that person, but like, I'm not going to give you stuff to do what you should do.
Yeah, you're like, it's almost the same scenario for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not you have to do this. You are between a rock and a hard place. You are not in a position with leverage to negotiate like you think you are.
Right. Same thing if a player is very, very powerful and you have the ability to take them out before they get their next turn. Hey, listen, if you want to let them live, go for it. They're going to win the game, though. So, you give yourself the best chance by doing the thing that's obvious, and we don't need to, therefore, give you anything to do those things.
Yeah, which I think, and this is true with like all of these deals, like there are nuances, and there are times where like, yes, you take deals that happen like that. And I could see it being a situation where what they're asking for is like minor enough that you're like, yeah, my chances of beating things through that are much higher than my chances of letting Josh untap with all the creatures he has out on the battlefield there. Right. But also, I mean, this is the sort of thing that tends to happen like kind of near the end game a lot of times. People have built their stuff out. And I've been the player before who's like, well, I'm going to do everything I can to kill this person. Can no one help me? Or can everyone not hurt me? And I will tell you, like 90% of the time, I'm like, if it gets around to my turn again, I win.
Right. So all I want to do is knock this person out, wait till my next turn, then win.
Yeah. This is the thing that's stopping me from winning. Yeah. And I need to get rid of it so I can win. Yep. Is there a way I can also stop them from destroying my engine in the process?
We have a little note here, and it was something we talked about, Jordan, which is there is a certain amount of goodwill. Mm-hmm. And I like what you said there, because I don't want anybody to interpret this episode as us saying, hey, never make these deals, never agree to these deals. Sometimes you do. In fact, if it's offered to you 99 times, maybe you accept the deal 70 times.
Sure.
But right now, I feel like a lot of you are accepting it 99 times. And look for those little edges, those 20% of the time, that 25% of the time when it's not in your best interest to accept the deal, or you should be negotiating it a little bit.
Well, and I think there's sometimes a mentality people get into with Commander that's like, Commander's a game where you make deals and there's politics and stuff. And therefore, when it's brought to me,
I should accept that.
I should accept it.
Yeah.
But no, it's a move that you're doing. Sometimes you should, sometimes you shouldn't. Just like you don't remove every creature that's put out on the board, you pick the ones that are advantageous.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well said. So there was a note we made here, which is there is some amount of goodwill between players that is created whenever a deal is sort of offered and accepted. So sometimes if it's minor enough, and I think we see this in small deals like, hey, I have a creature and when it attacks, I get to loot.
Yeah.
It's a 1/1 though, and you could block and kill it. Can you just not just take the 1 and let me loot?
You could block this with your Solemn Simulacrum, and then you get a card. I'm willing to let you kill that Solemn Simulacrum.
Yeah, go ahead, swing it. A lot of times people have a Solemn. They're like, hey, can I swing this at you? Will you block it so that it'll die and I can draw the card? And there's not a lot you can ask for in that case. You can't be like, don't ever use your removal spell against me then, because you're not giving them enough advantage for that to be worth it. But sometimes it's worth it to just be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Just so now I'm friendly with you. So next time I come to you, you're like, hey, remember when I did you that favor? Maybe you're a little bit more amenable to like whatever my offer is.
Well, it's just like there's a phenomenon in real life where if like the first time you meet somebody, you ask them a small favor of some sort, they're like inclined to like you a little bit more. And it's like a weird human psychology thing. And sure, that can absolutely happen in games of Commander. Like think about how often you've played a game and you sort of establish who you're like on the same side with kind of early on. And that matters the whole game.
It's amazing how it kind of gets cemented and your brain starts to shortcut it, right? And you don't re-examine like, wait, should I be friends with them the whole game from that one thing? Because because I blocked their Solemn Simulacrum earlier.
Oh yeah.
But you got it fixed in your head that you were a team. So there is a little bit of goodwill, I would say. So sometimes in these offers, and I would say sometimes there's legitimate reasons. Like in the Game Nights episode when Xolo said, hey, I have to tap out to take out Jimmy, and he literally did have to tap out and use his activated ability and not play any cards. Can you please just not like attack me for the next turn? Mm-hmm. That felt reasonable in that case. But there are times I think when you have to look at it and be like, yo, that's a combo piece. You can't just let a Kiki Jiki sit. No. You can't let him untap with that. So if you have the ability to destroy it, I'm not going to give you a cookie because you destroyed it. That's what you're supposed to do so you don't lose the game. You're not doing it for us. You're doing it for you, right? You're still trying to win, right?
Now, okay, this is just a little bit going into your positioning thing too. But I've been in situations before where like I could remove something and I'm like, well, you guys give me this if I don't remove it. And there's two people coming before it becomes a threat. And they go, no, we're not going to do it. And I go, great, one of you guys handle it.
Good.
Because there are two more people and you're like, I bet one of you can do it.
It's risky though.
It is. It's super risky.
This is why another reason why playing Instance is so good, because you can say things like, "Oh, I don't have any way to get rid of it," and then wait and see, and then on the end step right before, I didn't want to do this, but I'll do it. That's pretty funny. Okay, so that's one of the other common deals. The, hey, will you give me immunity if I do the thing I was already going to do? Here's another sort of common scenario. When other players are making deals with each other. So both of the deals we've just we've talked about in this episode, the one like, you got a scary thing. What if I don't remove it? Will you not use it against me for the next turn so I can develop my board? A lot of times it doesn't get offered to you, right? You don't have the scary thing. Somebody else does. And so Jordan starts making the offer to Mel, and that is a potential problem for you because them coming to some sort of agreement, even if it's just like Jordan, it lets Jordan develop his board. Maybe that's not something you want to happen or whatever. So the question sort of becomes, how can you interject yourself when deals are being made that you're not directly involved in, at least at first? And I think a little side note here, I think it's a good instinct most people have, which is you don't want the game to boil down to like everyone's talking and arguing.
Yes.
Like you don't want like a mass amount of debate to happen. These deals need to be a little streamlined. And in general, I think most people understand that the general code of conduct is like other people are making a deal. You mostly shut up and just let it happen, because the more you talk during it, the longer it's going to take.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean you need to be silent in the whole thing, especially if you notice like the sort of thing we were talking about where someone might be painting it with a rosier color than it actually
might be
is.
conning the other person.
Like I have an Arixmathes out and Josh is talking Jimmy into removing it. I could even just be like, wow, you think Arixmathes is the threat?
Yeah. What about that? Oh, he's only saying that because he has this.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as like I have 5 to 7 words well placed that I can say as a little quip to just throw enough debate, throw enough doubt into the moment that it can be like break up the whole deal, where it's like, he's just trying to trick you. He's got a combo piece on the board. He just doesn't want that to happen. And just like saying it with a little bit of contempt like that will make the person be like, wait, they're trying to trick me, and can make the whole deal fall apart, or at least make them ask for more or whatever. I think another strategy, and Jimmy is really good at this one, I've noticed, which is you kind of start to play the role of like attorney or lawyer.
Right.
So now you're not arguing with them, you're helpful. So you're like, so let me just clarify, you're saying this, and you are saying that the deal would be this, and you point out any loophole, but attacking would be fine. Is that correct? Yeah. Oh, but destroying their thing would be fine, right? Oh, but I noticed that a wrath would not be covered in this deal. A wrath's fine. And the person's like, wait, no wraths either.
You said you wouldn't target their thing?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that is a really clever way to kind of insert yourself into the proceedings.
And you're even like, you're building a little goodwill with the person you're like helping in that whole thing. Like even some of the stuff that like we mentioned earlier that you could potentially like do to make the other deals better. If you like sort of point that out to someone and be like, oh, but is he going to be able to use that on that creature next turn?
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll go, wait, can you?
Yeah, well, we just said this turn, so of course I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, okay, crap. Yeah, playing the lawyer or attorney really can help break up bad deals that are happening out there that are bad for you. A quick threat can do a lot too. A lot of times people are like, okay, I want to destroy that, and then you can do this with it. And a lot of times I like to be like, it won't matter. It's going to be dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill that thing. Like, you can make whatever deal you want. It just won't be there.
Yep.
And a lot of times that'll just deflate the whole thing where they're like, oh.
They're like, I'm not giving anything up to now gain nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You put an interesting note here, which is be careful about revealing how much you care.
Yeah, because if you go, no, come on, don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
Man, now I really want to get rid of it. You guys don't work
together to do. It's like, oh, this really matters to them.
Right. Oh, now we better get rid of that. He really wants it.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Or even like if you come in too strong, like if you're making a deal with Jimmy and I'm just like, don't make a deal with Josh.
Right.
Like, one, you'll be mad at me. And this person also could be like, you don't get to tell me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely you don't want to come in like barking orders like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely wouldn't make it about the person either. I think that's where you kind of run into the problem. Make it about the cards on the table or the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's some pretty good stuff, I think, when other players are making deals with each other. And then the last sort of scenario we're going to talk about, which is super common.
Big one.
I'd say like almost every game of Commander now.
There are like games where it doesn't.
But it's rare.
Yeah.
There will be an archenemy scenario alliance at some point in the game. At some point in the game, and it can be early, middle, late, one player will be far enough ahead that the other players feel like, hey, we need to team up or we won't have a chance against this player.
And this is like such a common scenario that I feel like everyone like thinks they know exactly what to do.
But I think it gets mishandled a lot.
I agree.
So let's imagine the scenario is there's an archenemy player, they're in first place in the game. Mm-hmm. Then there's the second place player, whoever's got the second best position in the game, third and fourth, right? Like there's almost never a point where people are exactly even, but it can be a little muddy. Second and third could be close, third and fourth could be close.
Right.
You know, it's not really generally going to be archenemy unless the first place player is significantly ahead of the second place player. Mm-hmm. So there's almost always a gap there, but the rest can be clustered in different ways. One big thing about Archenemy Alliance scenarios when everyone's like, hey, okay, we have no chance against this player unless we all team up. What can you get rid of? What can you get rid of? Can you attack them? How much damage can you do? You know, everybody starts to like, let's suit up and let's like form a plan and let's do this thing. And I think, especially if you're the fourth player, if you're the player at the bottom who a lot of times is like way behind.
Yeah.
Let's imagine maybe you were mana screwed or something a key piece got removed early, or you just haven't had enough card draw.
You ramped early on, but then all the removals all the artifacts were blown up, and that was how you ramped. So now everyone is sitting there. Better.
Everyone can just do a lot more than you. I think in a lot of cases, it's not correct for the fourth place person to actually join the Archenemy Alliance, and it's more correct for them to not help the Archenemy either, but to be like, not say this out loud, but this is what you're thinking, which is like, my only chance in this game is if I use my resources to try and catch up to everybody else, get enough cards, enough board position, enough mana on the table so that I'm back in the game. And if I'm just playing removal spells and dealing with problems, that'll never happen. So I got to let 2 and 3 deal with 1, and I will be over here trying to catch up.
Well, because think about it, like who tends to initiate like the actual archenemy alliances? It tends to be
the second or third place player.
Yeah. The person who's in second and it's like, I can't beat them, but if these guys are helping me,
maybe I have a chance.
I can.
Yeah.
And their plan after that is not that we all were like, our alliance is successful.
Let's go get a sandwich. Yeah, they're like, their plan is, once they knock off 1, then I'm number 1 now, and it's 1, 2, and 3, and I just kill the other 2, and they don't even have 3 teammates to team up against because there's one player's gone. Yeah, I think a good example of this is there was a Game Nights episode, and I forget what set that it was for, but it had Amaz and MTGNerdGirl, and it was Jimmy and I, and I got off to a pretty early lead in that game. Was I playing Golos? Maybe I was.
I don't remember the details.
I was pretty far ahead, and they did the, hey, if we don't knock Josh down a peg, he's going to run with this game. We got to blah, blah, blah.
Which is always good advice if you're playing with Josh, by the way.
They weren't wrong. Like, I was way ahead. But what happened is Jimmy and Amaz and MTG NerdGirl were using a bunch of resources to kind of knock me down to size, and it ended up working. But I think MTG NerdGirl was really hurt by joining the alliance with Jimmy and Amaz. I think because what ended up happening is her board just didn't develop enough. She was forced to use removal spells rather than develop it. And so as soon as I was gone, you looked at the table and you're like, there's no way she can win now. Because there's not enough distraction going on for her to have enough time to come back in this game. What she really needed to happen was for me to fight it out with Amaz and Jimmy and hurt each other enough, because that fight would have been close, to bring us down while she comes up, and then
she's just sprinting towards actually getting her deck where it needs to be to become a threat itself.
Yeah, and I think for her, the hope there could have been like, it doesn't matter who comes out ahead as long as it takes a while and there's a lot of attrition.
Yep.
And by the time the dust settles on that, now maybe I'm up to the level or even above where I can start. And I think we see this in games where like that fourth place player feels like they didn't do anything for most of the game and then came into it and won.
Which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like so many games, you're like, how did that person win? And when you look at it, it's because the people who were at the top ate each other.
Yeah, a lot of times at the end of the game, people go, yeah, we just ignored that person for too long, right? That's the reason. And I think thinking of Archenemy Alliance in that way of like, can I be the person that kind of, sits over here in the corner, doesn't help either side, lets them fight it out while I kind of get back into this thing. Sometimes you can't do it because it'll be like, well, the archenemy's too powerful, and without my help, they actually will not be able to overcome it.
You have to join if it really does mean like winning the game. If you have a serious reason, like it's like what we said, where if there's a big threat that needs to be removed or you're going to lose the game, you still remove that threat.
It's really, really hard not to join into the Archenemy Alliance thing with the other two players, though, because if I come to you and I offer you a deal, we already talked about how there's this feeling of appeasement. Your natural instinct is to kind of agree to a deal that's been offered to you.
Yeah.
Well, it's magnified by 2 when 2 people are saying like, hey, we need everybody's help. And it's really hard to be like, Well,
what can be really insidious too is like if we are like, oh, okay, we're all on the same team, we're buddies here. Can you do something to do that?
Yeah.
Like that could be them not wanting to use the resources they have.
Oh, good. They have an answer. Then I don't have to do that.
Great. This is like having 2 extra removal spells in my hand.
Yeah. If you're the person in 4th and maybe even 3rd and the Archenemy Alliance starts to happen, that's the first thing I would think about. Mm-hmm. Where am I in this game? Am I in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th? And if I'm in 4th, I would say that to the other players. Listen, what resources do you have? Because I'm behind already.
Yeah.
So if I start throwing resources at removal spells and stuff, I'll never catch up in this game. So, it might be better for me to just hope that you two can, I wouldn't say this last part, but in my mind, I'm being like, yeah, I'm not giving my information first. What can you destroy?
And the thing is, like, one thing that is clear throughout all of these is that information is a really valuable thing in Magic. And just because someone says like, well, can you remove anything on his board? Doesn't mean you have to tell them you can.
That's a really good point.
Like, yeah, you have Swords to Plowshares in your hand and you can kill that Consecrated Sphinx, but like, they don't have to know that's an option you're not doing because that Swords to Plowshares could be the difference between you winning the game later.
I think sometimes if you're the 4th player too, your actual best possible route to victory is sort of semi-allying with the person in 1st.
Yeah.
Like, because right now you have like a 10% chance to win, right? You're in 4th place. Everybody's ahead of you. What's your chances to win if you're in 2nd place? There's only 2 players and player 1 is still ahead of you, but like they just fought off 2 and 3.
Well, and also like if you've been the archenemy, it can be like, oh my God, everyone is just like coming in on me. Like you might actually be kind of willing to help out one person if they're not just like bringing that hammer down on you like everybody else.
When you are the archenemy too, I think a lot of times the right play when they make the alliance and there's 3 of them is to go, who's the weakest? Let me take that person out real quick because that takes away a 1/3 of their mana and a 1/3 of their card draw, just like that.
And if they're like, yep, I'm going to be a threat, I'm helping out, then you're like, it would be awesome to remove that weakest threat over there.
And now it's 2v1, which I have a better chance of than 3v1.
Yeah. So looking like you're not necessarily against them makes them go, okay, it's more in my interest to deal with these 2 people who are ganging up on me.
Yeah. It might be like, listen, I'm not going to hurt, the 4th place player. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to get involved, but I got to develop my board over here. So good luck with the archenemy.
Yep.
All right. I just do want to reiterate what you said earlier, which I think is very smart. We talked about a lot of politics and a lot of political deals, and a lot of times saying no to deals that were coming your way, you should feel a little bit more empowered to not accept all deals that come your way.
Yep.
In fact, if you're currently accepting 80% of deals that come your way, or whatever the percentage is, you're probably accepting too often. You should say no just to get in practice of saying no. In fact, I would empower all of you out there to say no, and then even if that goes badly, just for the practice of saying like, no deal.
Like, think about the expected value.
Yeah.
I mean, going way back to the first thing, what happens if they do remove your creature? Sure, it could be bad, but like, maybe then you have something later that they can't remove because they removed it then. Like, there's a lot, like, people are kind of risk averse, and they tend to be loss averse in this sort of thing, which is why, people get upset about like having to mill cards because like, damn it, I don't have that card.
I wanted to play that card, yeah.
But
it could just as easy mill you into a really good card that you draw, though.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need to make sure that you're actually figuring out how much of a cost it is, if it was even going to be there that much longer, if whatever the deal was going to happen is actually going to bring it out more.
But I do think practicing saying no to deals, because we don't do that in normal life that much, where somebody offers you something and you just straight up like, no. I like to use a couple of phrases that are not no that help you with that. So my favorite phrase is, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is just like, I've heard your spiel, I get why you're saying it, but I'm not gonna make a deal. You gotta do what you gotta do. There's no hard feelings there. It's just like, nope, I don't think that's the best move for me. Good luck. You got play your turn however you think you gotta play it, but no deal. Which is just like, you're trying to take the edge off saying no to it, but like, I am not accepting your proposal. Yeah. Practice saying that. There's a lot of power that comes from saying no, actually. That's what they say, in all negotiation, is that like, a lot of times the player that quote unquote wins is the one who's more willing to say no. Yeah.
say no more. How is that even possible? I'm from Chicago. I'm a good Midwestern gal. I'm not trained to say no.
Yeah, plus all your improv
true.
training says
I have
yes and.
a year and a half of improv.
Yeah, exactly. So all your instincts are saying no. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll also give you a free removal spell.
I'd say it's a really good lesson just in general in life in negotiations. So if you're negotiating for, you're buying a car or you're in a job, raise promotion situation, the power to say no is, it's very powerful. And I think people just think they have to take the options in front of them and don't think of no as the option. And when I'm thinking about stuff, no is the main option.
Sure. My
default is no. I didn't come up with this idea. You did, and you're coming to me with it. It probably isn't good for me. And so I think if you sort of think from I'm a no and you have to turn me into a yes, it has to look very good. But my default is going to be no. There's so much power in it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of social pressure at commander tables to just be fun to play with, and you feel like if you say no to a deal, then suddenly you're unfun to play with, and you're like, no, you get to play your own hand, you get to make your own deals, it's your card. That's whenever I see people talk someone else into using their card in a way that doesn't benefit them, I'm like, wow, something has gone wrong here. So, be protective of your own peace.
Yeah, often in games I will interject where two people are talking and there's some deal offered and the other person just kind of takes it. And if I feel like that person didn't even really realize that no's an option, I will interject and be like, listen, you could say no. And a lot of times they go, oh, yeah, no.
Then I don't want that.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, cool. I just don't want you to feel like you have to take deals because somebody offered them to you. No, I won't necessarily do that when I'm offering the deal, but that's a different story.
Politics is tricky. There's a lot of social boundaries and everybody does it a little bit differently. Like you're always playing the people at the table when you're playing Commander, and I'm not as like, I'll do this if you do that. But I will strongly suggest that a permanent be dealt with.
Right.
And that's a different kind of politics, I guess.
For sure. Anytime you're talking to the other people at the table in any way, there are politics involved.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All
right.
Yeah. Speaking of politics, well, to the listeners, first of all, do you use a lot of politics in your playgroup? How do you navigate the social interactions in Commander? Do you say no sometimes when deals come your way? If you don't, you should probably start doing that sometimes. I'll say people think like, oh, if I say no, it's not going to be fun. But actually, when somebody says no to me or uses that move, then in my mind, they go up a tier. I'm like, oh, they're
thinking about this.
Yes, exactly. They're on that level. They're on a different, level than the people who just, don't even understand really that the game's being played. A lot of times the game's being played before the game even starts, and you just sort of need to know that. But definitely you need to know that the game's being played during the game.
If you want to play the game during the game, you're going to need cards.
Good segue.
Thank you. Go to cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom is the best. Honestly, I bought a huge stack of cards from Card Kingdom, and they showed up on my doorstep soaking wet. Like the package was wet, and I was like, well, shoot, I've ordered paper products in the mail. They have to be destroyed. And I opened them and they were packaged so well that all the cards inside were safe and sound. The order was perfect. All of the ones that I actually ordered are the ones that showed up. I feel like there's nothing worse than buying an etched foil or buying a regular foil and getting the wrong kind of foiling. It's very frustrating because I'm super specific about the cards that I buy and I put in my decks. So I want to make sure that the people I shop with are super specific about the ones that they send me. And it's trickier and trickier all the time. So you need the pros. So support the show and shop from a really great place that'll make sure you're always set up at cardkingdom.com/command.
Speaking of protecting your cards, Ultra Pro is the game accessories brand that we trust our own collections to here at the Command Zone. They make amazing products like Apex sleeves. If you haven't tried out Apex sleeves, you really should. They're the best printed sleeve on the market. They just have that buttery shuffle feel that is really hard to get on printed sleeves. And the printing is really high quality, looks really good, doesn't wear off, doesn't peel off. These sleeves last a really long time. They pass that stretch test. I mean, I've just been so impressed with Apex sleeves to the point where I have some old decks that aren't in them, and when I go to play them and I start to shuffle, I'm like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, these don't feel as good. I want the Apex feel. So if you haven't checked out Apex sleeves, we can't recommend them highly enough. Of course, Ultra Pro has a ton of amazing products, not just the sleeves. And in fact, they've got all the Final Fantasy stuff right now, which if you can find it, it is, to be fair, selling out just like all Final Fantasy stuff is. But they have foil. they have the beautiful foil deck boxes with like cloud
and binders
stuff on, and binders too. Yeah, and that stuff is really high quality. Ultra Pro does a great job. It'll protect your cards. Again, ultrapro.com/command.
All right, we've talked about Magic today, or we've heard about it anyway from past Josh.
I mean, speaking of politics.
yeah, that's true. That's perfect for this episode.
Yeah, so our end step here, Rachel and I have both got pulled into?
Yeah, roped into by the one, the only Becca Scott.
Yeah, Becca's, I think it's her favorite game. I think she told me that, like, my favorite game, at least at the time she was talking to me, I know Becca plays a lot of games, so that might change, was something called Blood on the Clocktower.
Yeah, this one is so fun. And, like, full disclosure, Josh and I recorded some episodes of Blood on the Clocktower for Becca's channel, Good Time Society.
Yeah, she did a whole Kickstarter for a bunch of episodes. By the way, they
built a whole set.
The game is complicated to produce and edit, so kudos to them. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy is part of this too. A bunch of our friends from around the community, from Magic, from the D&D tabletop space, Dropout and things like that. We got called into Becca's studio to shoot a number of episodes. Playing this game.
Yeah, and if you've never heard of it, it's sort of like Complicated Werewolf is sort of the best way to put it.
It's a Mafia Werewolf variant, but it is like a complicated in quotes. It is definitely more complex.
Yes,
but I feel like the game design for it is like has elevated both of those things.
I will say, like, I'm not a huge fan of social deduction games. I feel like they really rely on vibes too much, where it's just people yelling at each other trying to like sell somebody on something that isn't true. And I don't love that dynamic. But I feel like Blood on the Clocktower is this perfect balance of, like, it gives you the tools to figure out the puzzle. There are logic clues to figure out, like, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And there's lots of misinformation, but part of the game is picking apart the misinformation. And I was talking to some people who played it a lot, and they were like, well, when you go into more invested Blood on the Clocktower, like, play groups, half of them are logic players and are trying to solve, like, the actual clues puzzle, and half of them are vibes players that are trying to read the individual people. Yeah. And that blur makes it really interesting and really fun to play and to watch. There's a lot of great Blood on the Clocktower content out there. Becca's, it will be coming out if it isn't out already. And I've also watched.
Let's not put any pressure on Becca. It's a lot of editing.
It's a lot.
My feeling is probably going to take them a little while before the episodes start coming out.
I believe that. I've been watching a lot of No Rules Bard in the meantime, which is really fun.
And I played with a few people from that channel in my game.
Crazy talented.
They're very good at the game. They know the game inside and out. Yeah,
they're so funny. It's a bunch of comedians and they play. They're doing like a legacy version of it, but they play a lot of really complicated scripts. So the game's really fun. If you haven't watched it, definitely go check it out on Becca's channel on Good Time Society. She's got a couple of pilots that show you like what is going to happen that helped launch the Kickstarter. So those are great examples of what the game looks like, but also the No Rules Bard is really fun too.
Yeah, and I would suggest checking it out if you can. I know the actual box, the game is hard to find because it's popular and sort of selling out, but they're making more all the time. Jimmy did this. There's a Jordan I know owns the game, has played it once or twice, and there's been a lot, Rachel, myself, Jimmy really fell down the rabbit hole in this. I've been talking about it a lot, just the strategy of it. That's how you know that we liked it, because we were like talking about it quite a bit and talking about strategy around it. And I think if you like Magic, there's a lot in there that maybe you wouldn't think you like, but Commander specifically has a lot of social dynamics and politics, so I think it will appeal to a lot of the same people. So maybe your Commander play group, might be something worth trying out, because we had a lot of fun with it and we're excited to play again. I want to do like a command zone.
It's so fun.
Yeah, get a little group.
Oh, it's also a huge game. We played with 11 players, but you can play up to 20, and like the smallest I played is 7. So you can play with, like, if you have a weird number for Commander, or if you have like you're playing at a party or something, it's perfect. It's really
the game
fun.
Design is such that you can kind of tweak the levers for whatever the size group that you've got. I think you need a certain minimum amount. It'd probably be hard to play with like less than 4, but yeah, it is super fun. Blood on the Clocktower, check it out, and keep your eye out, on your ear out, and your social media radar out for when the episodes with us come out on Becca's channel, which again is called Good Time Society.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, we have to say thank you to our amazing team here at the Command Zone. Thank you to Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jordan Pridgen, Jake Boss, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and Jimmy Wong.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye.
Peace.